Hello, and it's good to have you again join us on Maritime Radar. Regional collaborations are vital to Africa's growth. It is for this reason that regional organizations are formed. Even though Africa's maritime industry is still very much underdeveloped, 90% of imports and exports in Africa is facilitated by sea. This places a burden of responsibility on existing regional maritime bodies such as the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa (MOWCA). Established in 1975 as the Ministerial Conference of West and Central African States on Maritime Transport, that name was changed to MOWCA as part of the reforms which was adopted in 1999 by the General Assembly of Ministers of Transport at an extraordinary session of the organization in Abidjan. MOWCA is to serve as the regional and international community for handling all regional maritime matters. The organization unifies 25 countries on the West and Central African shipping range, which includes the 5 landlocked countries. These countries comprise of 20 coastal states bordering the North and South Atlantic Ocean. And to explain the maritime link for landlocked countries, the ports of the ocean interfacing countries provide the seaborne trade of those that are landlocked. 49 years after MOWCA's establishment, has it lived up to its billing? These are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on today's show. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. MOWCA has identified a number of problems at the sub-regional level relating to the cost-effectiveness of shipping services, which are availability of shipping space, frequency of sailings, level of freight rate, competitiveness, and survival of national and regional operators, efficiency of seaports, safety of cargoes and ships, inland transportation networks, availability of coastal shipping services, efficiency of multimodal transport systems, trade facilitation, protection of shippers' interests, the promotion of maritime security and safety, harmonization of maritime law, capacity building of actors in maritime transport, sustainable funding of the shipping industry, and facilitation of transit transport to landlocked member states are all MOWCA's core mandate. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Water transport has been recognized as a cost-effective and an environmentally friendly mode of transportation, but the challenge of safety on the waterways has been on the front burner, considering several boat mishaps seen across Nigeria. These mishaps are based on regulatory lapses, poor implementation of safety standards, as well as human errors such as overloading, non-use of life jackets or expired jackets, overspeeding, weak boats, night sailing, amongst others. In Lagos State, water transportation is often a primary mode of commuting for many communities. Thus, it is imperative to have safe, efficient, and modern boats. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has emphasized the priority that the Lagos State Waterways Authority (LASWA) places on safety.
In the last year or so, LASWA alone has distributed close to 20,000 free vests. What do we call it? Floating vest or life jacket vest? Exactly. Free of charge. Free of charge. Over 20,000 LASWA has distributed, meaning that you know that you need to have the safety component before you board any of our ferries.
LASWA's general manager believes that its newly acquired boats are coming at the right time.
The unveiling of Nigerian-made modern ferries is a testament to the dedicated efforts of the Lagos State government in developing water transportation in Lagos State. Lagos has always been a trailblazer and standard setting, and LASWA has been aligned with this approach in setting standards for the inland waterways infrastructure and services across the nation.
It is hoped that with an increase in the efficiency of water transportation in Lagos, residents will have an alternative to road transport. The International Maritime Organization (IMO) has adopted a resolution calling for an immediate end to attacks on ships and sailors passing through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The resolution adopted at the Maritime Safety Committee meeting in London condemned the attacks as illegal and unjustifiable and underscored that these actions pose a direct threat to navigation freedom in one of the world's most vital waterways and have created significant disruptions to regional and global trade. This is the first resolution on this issue since Houthis rebels captured the MV Galaxy Leader in November 2023. Since then, the Iranian-backed Houthis have carried out more than 50 missile and drone attacks against international shipping and naval vessels. The attacks have so far resulted in the loss of one ship, the MV Rubima, and the deaths of 3 seafarers from the MV True Confidence. The remaining 25 crew members of the MV Galaxy Leader are still being held hostage, with the IMO committee demanding their immediate and unconditional release. The resolution encouraged ship operators and vessels to assess the nature and unpredictability of recent events, as well as the potential for continued attacks in the area when planning their transits.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Maritime Radar. The overriding role of MOWCA is to ensure for the sub-region a cost-effective shipping service high on safety and low on pollution. MOWCA has also acknowledged that the fact that African sub-region's coastal waters provide for some of the world's busiest shipping routes, which is in turn create for large volumes of tanker traffic, inclusive of movements from African oil-producing countries, and maritime safety concerns are linked to maritime transport movements. More importantly, MOWCA is already working towards problem solving with regards to issues associated with the implementation of various international conventions relating to safety, SOLAS, marine pollution, MAPOL, as well as the contemporary International Safety Management Code, ISM, and the Standard of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers, STCW Convention. Our guest today, a maritime policy expert, is Dr. Paul Adalikwu, Secretary General, Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa. He shares on waterway safety, addressing illicit shipping activities, the seamless participation of member countries in international trade, and more. Stay with us. It's good to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure.
It's been over 2 years as Secretary General of MOWCA. Talk to us on your key achievements.
Thank you, viewers. It's a pleasure to be on this network for the first time. I am the Secretary General of the Maritime Organization for West and Central Africa, whose acronym is MOWCA. I've been on the position now for a little over 2 years. I was elected in November of 2021 in Accra, Ghana by the 25 member states of the organization. I assumed office in December of 2021. So I'm a little over 2 years in the position. This organization was founded in 1975 under the leadership of the former president, now late, of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire. Consists of all the countries of West and Central Africa. Since assuming that position, I would say it's been an interesting ride in terms of repositioning and restructuring the organization. My immediate predecessor was from Angola. He was there for 10 years. When I assumed office, I noticed that the organization was not living up to expectations of a lot of member states. As a matter of fact, many of them had begun to lose faith. And so I was saddled with the task of regaining the confidence of this member state. So I embarked on a journey of rebuilding confidence, restructuring the organization, and bringing in the necessary support from critical stakeholders in order to get this organization going again. So it's been an interesting journey. We've achieved a lot of success, but there are still challenges which we're working to overcome.
So how have MOWCA worked to ensure a cost-effective shipping service that is high on safety and low on pollution?
That is, in fact, one of the key mandates of MOWCA, as outlined by the founding fathers and sanctioned by the Council of Ministers. When I came on board, I took the initiative of engaging with the immediate past Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, His Excellency Mr. Kitak Lin. We signed a joint action plan between MOWCA and the IMO, where we interface on a number of initiatives, and the issue of safe seas, energy efficient ships, pollution-free environments in African waters was one of the fundamental issues we're addressing. And so we've had 2 committee of experts meeting by MOWCA member states to address this issue. The last one was just held about a week ago in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, where we came up with far-reaching recommendations on the Green Maritime Africa initiative. We've also reached out to sister organizations in Nigeria like the NIMASA, Abuja MOU, and we are currently talking with the government of Equatorial Guinea to host a regional event where member states of MOWCA and beyond can come together and talk about these greenhouse gases in our ships and the need to have a pollution-free environment. Let me point out to you that one of our organs, Union of Africa Shippers Council, based in Douala, Cameroon, is driving this initiative as well.
Okay, bring us up to speed on the status, because I know this is also an area that is fixed to your person. Bring us up to speed on the status of the Regional Maritime Development Bank, which MOWCA is promoting.
Thank you very much. The need to finance maritime infrastructure on the continent, and especially within the MOWCA member states, has been recognized as one of the key imperatives that will support the maritime domain. So the Council of Ministers about 12 years ago met in Kinshasa, DRC, and agreed that MOWCA should establish a regional maritime development bank. Through these years, a number of meetings have been held, but I'm glad that since I came on board, we've gotten the member states required to sign the charter from about 3 to 9. In fact, we've exceeded the threshold, which means that at this point, the bank can be successfully launched. We've had meetings with Afrexim Bank from the MOWCA side. We've had meetings with Africa Development Bank, and they are all ready to support the launch of this bank. So when this bank takes off in Nigeria, hopefully it's one of the low-hanging fruits that the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy is driving. Okay. It will create opportunities, provide single-digit low-interest loans for maritime stakeholders to acquire, access capital in order to invest in maritime infrastructure in the country.
I must say, this is one of the most interesting things I'm hearing, because when it comes to shipping industry, there's need for funds. Yeah. When it comes to ports, facilities, there's need for funds. So I think this is one of the most interesting things that stakeholders in the maritime sector will be interested in. So moving away, there's another interesting thing that I want you to talk about is the strategic plan that MOWCA has in terms of putting in place a workable way to bring about ending the scourge of waterway accident.
That's an interesting one too. As we all recognize, between 2003 to 2015, over 8,500 lives have been lost between 3 countries: Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Cameroon. I can even add a 4th one, Senegal, according to a study by the World Maritime University based in Malmö, Sweden, to these inland waterway accidents. How do we overcome this scourge? It is due to a myriad of factors. Now, one of the incidents that provoked our attention in MOWCA in the last 1 year was an incident that happened in Libreville, Gabon. Esther Miracle, one of their inland waterway vessels, capsized and about 103 persons died. It led to the Honorable Minister of Transport losing his job. So we at MOWCA wrote to the government of Gabon that we were interested in intervening, in assisting them understand how to manage this inland waterway ferries. They gladly accepted, and between the 7th and 17th of next month, July, MOWCA, the International Maritime Organization, IMO, and the International Maritime Rescue Federation we'll be hosting a regional workshop consisting of all the MOWCA member states in Libreville, Gabon, in partnership with these 3 stakeholders, to bring in the member states to understand how to avoid these inland waterways accidents. I hope that Nigeria has been invited, and we hope that they'll be there.
I truly look forward to what is being done after this workshop, because it's not just, most times it's as if we gather, we listen to these things, but implementing them is key. But we will go also into Africa's voice in the International Maritime Organization, but that will be after this short break. Please stay with us.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radar, and I still have with me Dr. Paul Adalikwu. He is the Secretary General Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, MOWCA. Before we went on that break, you said we talked about funding, we talked about funding for the maritime industry, we talked about water workshop to prevent waterways accident. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do we begin as a continent to strategize in order to strengthen Africa's voice in the International Maritime Organization, IMO?
Thank you. Just before I take this question, let me say that it will not just be a talk shop on preventing inland waterway accidents that we're having in Libreville. We are going to set up maritime rescue centers in key clusters among the West African and Central African countries. So they have a mechanism on responding. They'll be provided with support in terms of not only technical support on how to arrest these issues, but life vests, life jackets, and the mechanisms by the IMO and International Maritime Rescue Federation. Question of Africa's voice on the maritime scene. One of the mandates that the Council of Ministers has given me is to transform MOWCA into the Africa Maritime Organization, could be something similar to the European Maritime Safety Agency, EMSA. For now, we are a miniature IMO in Africa, covering West and Central Africa. But through this transformative process, we will become an African continental body that can speak with one voice on global maritime issues, similar to the IMO. We will not be a competition to the IMO. We will complement the work of the IMO, similar to EMSA, like I mentioned. How does this process come about? Since I came on board, I've engaged with the African Union, which is very critical because as a continental body, it needs the support of the African Union. So we're currently in dialogue, we're currently in conversation with the African Union to support this initiative. We've gotten in writing the support of ECAS, the East and Central African Organization, based in Gabon, for this transformation. We've gotten a tacit approval, endorsement also in writing from ECOWAS, but that key support we're seeking is from the AU, and we're currently in conversation with them. Let me point out one thing: the Africa Development Bank is supporting us financially to drive this process in our engagement with the AU. We've had a trilateral meeting between MOWCA, the Africa Union, and AFDB in this process. In order to get the other players around the region to buy in, we've signed MOUs with the Intergovernmental Standing Committee on Shipping, based in Mombasa, Kenya. It covers 11 countries in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa. They're bought into this dream of transforming the MOWCA into an African continental body.
So let us look at another thing, which is harnessing the many untapped maritime potentials, which could bring about investment, create jobs. The tourism sector is there, aquaculture, and many part of that. So how do we begin to achieve this?
Now, part of the challenges many of our member states are facing, and if I can generalize even in the continent, is the issue of restiveness of coastal communities. Like I said, 20 of the member states of MOWCA are coastal states. Issue of piracy, armed robbery at sea, criminality. Where do they originate from? You have the navies fighting criminality and piracy at sea, but these crimes originate from the shore because even bunkering, illegal bunkering, illegal refining of crude, it takes place within the shoreline of our communities. But through the Blue Economy Initiative, and I must commend the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for creating the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry, which is a standalone ministry that can address these challenges. And we at MOWCA are saying, through the Blue Economy Initiative, we can engage in initiatives that will create jobs for women and youths, provide them with the necessary support in order for them to leave the livelihood of criminality at sea, engage in meaningful means of livelihood in those coastal communities, and hopefully have a support for their families, and then the booming economy in our tourism and other essential areas of these coastal communities.
Okay, building a robust African maritime and logistics sector is key towards a successful implementation of African continental free trade area. In your view, how has AFTA fared?
Well, AFTA certainly is a good initiative. In my engagement with AFTA, with the leadership of that office, they are focused on ensuring that there's inter and intra-African trade. The challenge is that currently transportation of goods, vessel ownership, movement of goods between African countries is dominated by Asian and Western vessels. It leads to capital flight. It leads to loss of jobs. So we are trying to set up a continental shipping line. We want to empower African maritime critical stakeholders to acquire vessels to drive after. You can't have intra-African trade driven by Europeans and Asians. So it is an ongoing discussion. Even the issue of rules and laws governing trade, parliaments, nations within the continent are fine-tuning those maritime laws. The Africa Development Bank is having an Africa Transport Forum in September, I think 6th and 7th of this year, to address these kinds of issues in collaboration with AFTA. So I see the future of AFTA bright, but a lot of hurdles have to be overcome.
The icing on the cake for all these issues that we've raised here is building capacity. So what is being done to address that?
The Maritime Academy of Nigeria in Oron is doing well. Before coming to this position, I was Director of Maritime Safety and Security in the Ministry of Transport, and I supervised Oron directly. I also supervised NIMASA and sat on their board. The things I saw, the synergy between NIMASA and the Maritime Academy Oron is quite good in building the caliber of personnel needed in the maritime sector in terms of training of seafarers, both locally and internationally. Now at MOWCA,
but the missing link is the vessels for them.
Not only the vessels, but also placing them when they graduate. Where do they find employment? We at MOWCA, like the IMO has the World Maritime University in Malmo, we have two institutions, the Regional Maritime University in Accra, Ghana, and the Regional Academy of Science and Technology of the Seas in Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire that trains seafarers. How do these guys, young people, upon graduation as cadets and seafarers, how do they get employment? How do they get placed in vessels when we don't have African vessels? So I've gone to Singapore, I've gone to Germany, I've engaged with the associations of ship owners in those countries. They've advised that we have a symposium, we have a fair starting next year, not this year, it's already almost gone. Starting next year, that's why you have Filipinos
taking over.
All over. They are the largest number of seafarers. When you have those fairs, these owners of vessels in Europe and Asia, they're invited. Our cadets, their CVs are, shared with them. They even come for trade fairs. And then we will increase the number of our seafarers that are placed in these foreign vessels for meaningful employment opportunities.
Time is not always our friend when we are having this kind of beautiful, mind-blowing, educative and informative conversation. But I look forward that you will make yourself available for us to follow through some of the foundations we laid on this conversation: critical funding development, Maritime Development Bank, the waterways, the security, Africa Voice, and so many things we've spoken on in this conversation. So I look forward to having you again. Hope you make yourself available.
Most certainly,
so that
my pleasure.
And when the next time we're talking about it, we are building blocks on this conversation. It's been Dr. Paul Adalikwu. He is the Secretary General Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, MOWCA. It's been a wonderful time.
Thank you very much.
You on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time
and
your thoughts. And good luck in all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that's our show this week. I hope this episode was able to answer the question of how the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa has fared in its core mandate. If yes, join us every week on Maritime Radar as we explore potentials that will ensure the development of the maritime sector in Africa. You can also expect the latest in global and local maritime news plus industry insights right here. I'm Nneoma. Obi-Asualo. Many thanks for your time on today's show, and see you again next week.